Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Matt Williams, Welshie, and this is my audio commentary for my entry into the uncanny valley, the dark side of the internet. I guess I could really sort of talk about how I came on board with this to begin with, which I think I know I was the last person to be asked, and I think my appearance here is more down to luck and circumstance, because I had not announced my desire to leave the site at this point. I'll just point out that the animation here was done by a gentleman called Matthias Koo, and no, I didn't know his name was Matthew, which, as I pointed out, is my name, until after I'd basically asked him to do it. I found him on YouTube, and he's a really nice guy, and as you can see, his work is pretty awesome. He did a great job. I effectively storyboarded what I wanted. I had ideas, I wrote them into script form, I gave him a pretty good idea of what I wanted, and then he just took my notes and my boards and put what you saw on screen there. But I think the way I was sort of brought on board with this was I had, without going into too much detail, I had organised meetings between producers of That Guy with the Glasses, Channel Awesome, and I think I'd impressed Mike and Rob with, I guess, how grown up I was, because let's face it, I mean, anybody who knows me knows my reputation on the site. I'm not that much of a grown up. Oh, I don't have the reputation of being a grown up. So I think I surprised people with that kind of attitude. And then I didn't know about this, but I assume they'd asked Lewis Linkara, and he was doing his DVD, so he couldn't do it. And they'd asked Lindsay, and she couldn't do it because she was busy. So they had a gap, and they asked me. And so I came into it very late. I'm pretty sure everyone else had started way before I did. And the brief I got was literally dark side of the internet. That's what they wanted. And I can remember when I heard that, when Rob told me that, the first thing I said, it was without hesitation, I said, look, I can't make this funny. And I knew I couldn't, because a lot of shady stuff happens online, and I wanted to sort of really make a point on that. And Rob, straight away, fair dues to him, said, look, that's great, it doesn't have to be funny, we don't want it to be funny, we want to try different things, we want to show that while the site is a entertainment and comedic site, we want to show this different side to it. So I was like, oh, okay. So I went off and wrote the script, and the script took about a month and a half, maybe even 2 months to do, and there was a lot of drafts of the script, because I wasn't doing my videos at the time. I was really focusing on this, and I couldn't really think of a thread. I mean, it's very easy to say, oh, the dark side of the internet, and just unload with all the bad things about the internet, but I couldn't really think of a thread that would feed through the whole video. And it was only pretty much when I was halfway through writing the script that I realized I could do an ABCs, and originally it was going to be an ABCDE, and that was too long. It was too long, and I had too much to say about certain things, so I cut it down to just ABC. And by doing that, it allowed me to have a topic for 3 different sides of the video: anonymity, bullying, and obviously celebrity. And I was able to look at all the aspects that are important to me, or that I feel like I could say something about, because obviously anonymity is something that anybody who ever posts online or just, writes a comment, there's going to be anonymity, and there's going to be problems with that. Anybody who's ever been bullied, it doesn't have to be online, it could just be in real life. I've been bullied, and I know people who have been bullied, and online bullying is a big thing, and I did a lot of research on that side of it, which was very depressing when I was putting this whole thing together. And then obviously there's the internet celebrity, which, I certainly don't class myself as a celebrity in that sense, but I know of the internet celebrity fixation, I guess you could call it, that's going around. So that was basically a place where I could say, right, there's 3 different areas here which I have some sort of experience in, or I know some things about, and I could go from there. So that's where I started, and that's where the script started to form. And I can remember right from the start, I think I remember speaking to Holly Brown about this, and I said I wanted it to be serious, but I also wanted to almost trick the audience into thinking it's going to be one thing and it isn't. And part of that was obviously because I've got a reputation on That Guy with the Glasses as being a bit of a troll, and I'm very proud of that reputation. So I decided I was going to sort of open it fairly lightly, and that's why you have the sort of upbeat music at the beginning of the video. That's why you have the sort of cheesy sort of animations. This is why you then see Panda pop up, because I felt I wanted Panda involved. He's my best friend on the site. He's one of my closest friends in real life, and I wanted him involved in this in some way. And it was almost a sort of Lord of the Rings type deal where you want it to be light, but you can't have it light at the end when things are going to get really serious. So I put him here, and this was my first ever experience with green screen and chroma key. Panda has a green screen, I do not. So Panda was able to, and again with Panda's direction here, I gave him the direction. I told him what I wanted him to do. So he's basically doing everything I said in the script. I threw in some little gags here, like the Top the Fourth Wall Nerd Quest, which is the film me and Mike J and the guys from the Brits have been working on. Obviously MMO Grinder. So there's a little throw out there to friends of the site. And this is where I could actually be, I guess, funny, if you want to call it that. And I think Panda's just funny in general. But the whole purpose of the entire video was to really show that while there is a dark side of the internet, and some people got this, which I was really, really touched by, it's also the video itself, because it deals in multiple ways of telling a message. You've got animation at the very beginning, you've got acting here in front of the camera, you've got music, you've got it's almost like a clip show, sideshow slides, you've got images, you've got graphics. This video basically, for me, is a combination of 3-4 years of, well, 5 really, because I've been editing the trailers for That Guy with the Glasses since the site started. But that's what this video was for me. It was a combination of all the sort of things I'd learned, and it's also showing what you can do with the internet. It's just not a simple case of somebody sitting down in front of a camera and talking. It's not a simple case of someone else who isn't me sitting down, because I didn't want to be in this. That was something that was also key to me as well. I wanted the focus of this video to be the video and not the person in it. And I wanted my friends in it, obviously. So everybody in this video is my friend, because, I wanted my friends in it, and I wanted people who could... Now, the animation here was done by AXA, who is a fantastic guy, and he's worked with me and Panda a lot on Panda Q&A and Pandas Forget About It, and a lot of my videos. Anytime you generally see an animation or a Photoshop picture, that's AXA, because he does an awesome job with all that stuff. And again, this was scripted by me. I said exactly what I wanted. The little cameo there, throwing Panda in, again, that was my... and the wink, that was my direction as well, and also the me jumping, and but the actual execution of the animations was all AXA. AXA did all that himself, and it's absolutely brilliant. One thing I was not prepared for when I was doing this was how hard it would be to do it. I went through some personal things while making it, and it was while I was making this that I decided I was going to leave That Guy with the Glasses. And that had nothing to do with That Guy with the Glasses. That was all sort of like personal. I felt it was time to move on, and in a way I kind of felt like I couldn't top this. And that's not sort of saying this is like the best thing ever, but I kind of feel this is the best thing I could do. And I'm always sort of looking to sort of better myself or do something different, and it was just very hard to see where I could go with this. And Alison's appearance in this is actually a factor in the whole making of it, because obviously, if people know, Alison's gone through some hard times on the site, and she's one of my closest friends, and I wanted to sort of call attention to this other side, which so many people don't see, because they're so quick to sort of jump and call names and issue threats that it's just like you forget that there is another person there. There's another person who you are actually threatening, and that's the whole point of this. Because some people watched it, the comments bemused me, I honestly say, because some people were watching it and saying that I was standing against the First Amendment and I was advocating censorship, and really all the video for me is you know, I want everybody to sort of like come away with it. That's why I never wrote anything in the comments section, because I wanted people to come away with it thinking, you know, their own thing. But for me, the video was about just telling people to stop and think. Really, I didn't even know what the First Amendment was. I had to speak to Lindsay about that. When I went to the charity drive in Chicago, I spoke to Lindsay, and Lindsay explained to me what the First Amendment was, because I'm not American. I don't know what the First Amendment is, and without being mean, I don't really care, because it doesn't concern me, and I don't know why it would. But no, I certainly don't advocate censorship. You know, have you seen my work? Do you think I actually advocate censorship? Shay was absolutely awesome with what she supplied for me. Everybody supplied some awesome stuff, but Shay's stuff was so detailed. I actually purposely inserted her into more than in the original cut. She was not as featured as she is, because she had some great points. But going back to what I said earlier, I was surprised how hard it was to do this. The anonymity bit wasn't that tricky. The bullying bit was very tricky, because I had to do a lot of research, and then I'm having to sort of put all these things together, and I was getting depressed putting them together. And, you know, when you see things like a child lying down, and you then see what could be typed up on screen, I felt dirty writing that. And I suppose, in a way, that's a good thing. It's just like, I feel really bad writing that stuff. I suppose that is a good thing. But yeah, I would have to take breaks. And ordinarily, I'm very quick with editing. Editing's probably the favorite thing I do like. But yes, this was a very, very depressing thing to do. The bullying part, especially, I did not feel comfortable doing it, and I'm glad I did it. That's the thing. It's sort of like you have to push yourself to do some things sometimes, even though if the subject matter makes you uncomfortable, which is, you know, ironic when you consider, because it's my subject matter. But I wanted to cover all aspects, because again, another comment that I remember getting was that I was accused of defending internet celebrities, or I was basically crying about the comments that internet celebrities get. And I again don't really see that, because I don't really comment on internet celebrity in a positive light. I don't really comment on celebrity in a positive light in this, as far as, you know, the darker side of what celebrity can bring, because really there is a dark side to everything. There's a good side to everything. You know, the fact that people enjoy your work, and sometimes, you know, people say the work inspires them, which is awesome. But then there's the dark side of celebrity. How many times have you seen celebrities take advantage of people, and, you know, it's in the papers all the time, you know, but then the celebrity somehow gets away with it. And the fan base, which is so passionate and so unwilling to, if you call it that, unwilling to accept that this person that they adore and they admire could do these sort of things. And it's the victim themselves who end up getting bullied and ostracized, and that does happen. And I wanted to sort of pull attention to that here. And again, I'm in a situation where, and I read all this, I read up on it. That's the thing, you know, people seem to think that I just sort of threw a script together. No, I really took the time with this. And I went through some personal things myself when I was doing it, because originally there was a different narrator, and things happened. I'm not going into too much detail, but I then had to get a second narrator. I had to get someone else to do the narration, and Holly graciously offered to do that for me. And I know the first narration was absolutely fine. Honest to God, it was fine, and I really liked it. It was just going to be very hard to work with that narration given what had happened. So Holly offered to do it, and I much prefer Holly's narration, because it's read in a very deliberate way, and I much prefer that. It's almost read coldly, if you want to call it that, and I think it kind of suits. I think it kind of suits the script. I think it kind of suits the format. These kind of things were very, very hard to. This is the part where I was getting depressed doing this, because I had to edit the whole thing in sections, because the thing was so large that it would basically crash my computer anytime I tried to render too much, and there was so much information flying around my screen at one time. And my computer isn't the best computer. It's fairly old now. I basically had the same computer for 4 years, as it comes a time when I'm going to have to get a new one. But I had a very, very specific idea in my head of what I wanted for every sort of section. And for the bullying section, I knew what I was going to talk about, and I knew it was going to be tricky, and I knew it was going to be painful, and I knew it was going to make me uncomfortable. But then, obviously, the animation, you've got the overlays, you've got the text, that all... The purpose of it is to make it hit home. I certainly wanted it to hit home. I certainly didn't want to pull any punches, and I knew it would be controversial. I knew it would make people uncomfortable, and I really didn't care in that way. It was for me, it was like, this needs to be said. And people said, it's kind of focused more on children. I'm like, okay, then it's focused more on children. You take away from it what you want. You take away from it what you want. But then I had people, accused, basically watching it and then doing exactly what the video said people shouldn't do, which... But then these are the same people who accused it of being directed at children. I'm just like, okay, I could be really arrogant and snooty there and say, well, what does that make you? But, I'm not going to do that because I'm a nice guy. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm not even employed by that guy with the glasses anymore. I can say whatever the hell I want. No, I'm not going to do that. But, no, this was the hardest video I've ever put together, and it was also probably the most satisfying because it felt rewarding. Very often when I put videos together, I get very... I'm never satisfied with my work, ever. And what you'll notice sometimes, if I upload a video, it'll change at least 5 times because I keep taking the original version and I keep tweaking with it, and I keep adding bits to it and taking bits away. I'm never really happy. This one, as soon as it was released, I was happy with it. Holly offered to, because what you'll notice is that the kinetic typography graphics, which open and close the video, occasionally the wording doesn't match the text, and that's just due to the original narrator reading it a certain way, and Matt, who just followed that original reading, putting the words in. And Holly graciously offered to re-record the her lines so it would match the text. And I don't want that. No, I much prefer Holly's readings as they are because it's natural. And it's the first, it's the first recording. It's just like Holly would take my script. She'd just read the paragraphs that I had, and she would just speak them. And it just feels completely natural to hear her say that. And I just feel that if she did it again, it wouldn't sound as natural. And I'm a big believer in, if you've got it the first time, you don't need to do it again. It's not a knock against Mr. Lucas there. This is Jill, who I met on the set of NerdQuest that I filmed with Mike J, Matty Buck, Stu Ashen, Happy Harry, Larry, Master Co. And I'm probably forgetting some other people there, or Rick Bush, obviously. And she was the girl we cast to appear in NerdQuest, which is out very, very soon. In fact, by the time you listen to this commentary, it might very well be out, because I just returned from MagFest and I have the DVD. John, who I've known for years, Chaos D1, I wanted him involved in this because he actually does have some very strong opinions, and he's very articulate in a lot of his opinions as well, and it's always interesting to hear what he has to say. He's a very good sort of analysis of breaking down people's characters. Ali, as I said, one of my closest friends, and I wanted her opinion because this is something that's obviously very, very near and dear to her heart. Balin, who, again, everybody in this video is either a friend or one of my closest friends or one of my best friends, and that's why I wanted them in this. I didn't actually go into this thinking it was going to be my last video, so I didn't, sort of go, oh, I want to get my friends in this because it'll be the last thing I ever do. It wasn't that sort of thinking, and I don't intend this to be my last video. But I wanted people who were important to me to be in it, which is why Panda's in it, which is why Ali's in it, which is why Phelan's in it, which is why I've got basically anybody who appears in this video, even if they don't speak, are people who are important to me. Now, this is the part that made me feel very uncomfortable, because, you hear so often people typing things like that, and it's not nice, and I don't like reading about it, I don't like seeing it, so the fact that I had to do it, I was not 100% comfortable doing that. As I wanted Phelan in this because, again, Phelan is someone who's got strong opinions, he's one of my closest friends, he's someone whose opinion I value. I got all these images from a site. I had to pay for the images, and the music I got from domain free. So I paid everything you see in this. I paid for pretty much. I paid for the animation. I paid for the editing, if you want to call it that. But yes, I paid for the editing. I found all these comments. I found all these newspaper articles and threads that I reworded slightly so I could, put them in the video and not have to worry about people coming after me. I was very careful with what I did and what I opted to choose. And I always wanted, again, I'm a big fan of symmetry, so I always wanted to open the video with kinetic typography, and I wanted to close the video with kinetic typography. And I wanted to open the video and close the video with the same theme. And it occurred to me very, very quickly that I couldn't play this section with the opening theme. So that's why the opening theme is used in the credits, and I've had people point out to me that feels very disjointed, and some people have said it's unnerving to have the video close on this very, very sort of somber moment and then have this kind of jaunty music. And again, that is all intentional. I was very, very particular about what I was doing with this, and I spoke to a lot of people. I submitted this to people before I went live with it because I wanted their opinions. And the notes I got back were generally just music's too loud. That was really the notes I got back. I don't, it's just like people have said, oh, you made this video to do this, that, or the other. No, I made this video for myself. I make every video I ever do for myself. There's never I'm making this video to sort of like mass opinion or something like that. No, it's just like it's one of the arguments I've often had in the comment section of that guy with the glasses, is that people say, you make these videos for us. I'm just like, no, I make my videos for me. And I've always said that if I stopped enjoying what I was doing, I'd stop, and that's kind of why I'm stopping. And obviously I mentioned him, but Matty Buck, who I have known since before Bad Movie Beatdown, and I do a lot of his title cards. I do a lot of his title sequences for Bad Movie Beatdown, and I've just recorded a crossover with him, which I will hopefully will be out very soon as well. This is almost like pre-forward advertising for stuff that is coming or may be out by the time you see this, but I kind of like that. It means that any time somebody buys this or listens to it, they'll hear me shilling my own stuff, which is, I think, pretty awesome. This last piece of section here was something that, again, I was very particular about in terms of what I wanted to be seen, and I love what Matt did here. That's something I actually did board. I boarded that, and he took it here. And to show how much of a perfectionist Matt is, he submitted all of this to me and then saw something that he didn't like, which I didn't notice, and did it again, and then submitted it to me again. And he was an absolute star to work with. He was constantly giving me updates. He was giving me teasers of what he was working on. I think more than anything just to show that he was working, because I think in his mind I might have thought he wasn't working. Well, I knew he was working, I trusted him, and so I've never met the guy. I met him just through checking out his stuff on YouTube, but he did a great job. And again, this was about the symmetry. I wanted to open the video on this and close the video on the same phrasing, I guess you could say, because this is obviously how the video opens, but now suddenly it means something different, and that was the intent. To sort of open the video one way and sort of talk about something, but then after everything you've been through, to go back to that same opening, it suddenly means something different. I'm a big fan of things like that. I like symmetry. I'm a big fan of symmetry. I'm a big fan of continuity. So when we were writing Panda Q&A, I was probably the reason the show had the continuity it did, which, honest to God, isn't that much. And again, this whole purpose of the video is sort of summed up here. It's basically telling people, or asking people, I guess you could say, it's asking people to look at themselves before they do something. That's really all it's asking, as far as I'm concerned. It's not advocating censorship. It's not contesting the First Amendment. It's not wishing death upon others, or defending internet celebrities, or defending the fanboys, if that's what they want to call them, or the fangirls. It's simply telling people to think before they type. And this is why I had Lewis close it, because that sums up the internet for me as well. It's like what he said there summed it up for me, and that's why I chose to have Lewis close it off, because that is exactly what the internet is to me. And he said it so nicely, and it has that sort of degree of finality to it that's just like, yeah, that's the end of the video. And I didn't obviously send it that. Basically what I did was I mailed everybody who appears in this video, I mailed them the questions. I mailed them six or seven questions, and it was different questions for different people. So I'd have different things from everybody, because I was afraid, obviously, of getting the same sort of answers. And they all came through in spades, and they really, really helped me. But that is the end of my commentary. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it wasn't too boring, and take care.